Budokai and Tenkaichi were the kings of Dragon Ball Z games on the PS2, with Budokai 1 selling over 3.5 million copies and Tenkaichi 3 selling over 3.9 million. But what about the other Dragon Ball Z games that were overlooked? Today we're playing 3 Dragon Ball Z games to see why they've been forgotten and check if they had any hidden unlocked potential or if they deserve to be Yamcha'd. And first up, a game that tried to take the series in a brand new direction. This is Dragon Ball Z Sagas. Released between Budokai 3 and Tenkaichi 1 and was the first Dragon Ball Z game developed outside of Japan by a US company. Let's see how the West does with Dragon Ball Z. The game, like any other Dragon Ball Z game, retells the anime story from the beginning of the Saiyan Saga and ends with the Cell Saga. A bit disappointing with how most games at least go up to the Buu Saga. It tells the story through these clip collages of the anime with the narrator summarizing what is happening. A little lazy in my mind, and what is not helping is these title screens that look like PowerPoint slides. The story is one thing, but what about the gameplay? Well, this is a 3D beat 'em up. You can punch, kick, jump, and throw Ki Blast. Like all beat 'em ups, you fight against a group of enemies and move on to the next section of enemies, but it's so boring. All the fights are standing around blocking until they stop, and you can take your turn to attack and repeat the process until you defeat everyone. The enemies range from just standing there doing half a combo and taking hits, to just spamming Ki Blast from the sidelines in the most annoying way possible. Luckily, most of them are brain dead. Even trying to hit enemies is hard with how janky the characters move, and they give you this lock-on button to help you out, but then if you try to move while locked on, you start sidestepping, making it worse to move around. This was mostly done for boss battles you will have in this game. It mostly consists of one-on-one fights, and they're not very different from regular enemies, since you just block longer before you can attack them. It's not interesting when you can just sit there and block every move the computer throws at you with very little repercussion. Not like it matters since they're boring fights, but get annoying when they're both invisible and invincible. In between fights, you get to travel around and explore for things. It's mostly going around blowing up rocks, bigger rocks, and bushes. This is because they can hide items you can collect. Sadly, just like the rest of the game, it's boring. This ranges from having to backtrack a lot or find hidden items that are hidden by a 3-year-old. 2 of the items you can get are different color capsules, red and yellow. When you collect 10 of the red ones, you get a health upgrade, and with the yellow, you get a key upgrade. You can collect senso beans, which act as extra lives, and the Z coins. These can be used when you find a shop mid-game to get power-ups. Most of these powers are supposed to change up the way you play the game, but they are pointless. You don't need them when the basic combo is just as effective, if not better, than most of these moves. The Kamehameha becomes pointless when it doesn't do a lot of damage, enemies start to dodge them pretty easily, and the best use for it is to blow up rocks. These uppercuts and kick upgrades look cool, but they will be used just to see the animation more than anything else with how effective they are. The best power-ups are teleportation to get enemies quicker, combo breaker which stops the enemy's attack making it easier than ever before, and longer combo attacks so you can take away more health per combo so you can play less of this game. It does not even save that much time since the game is very short, taking around 4 hours. One interesting thing is that they have a level dedicated to the yard rat, which is something a lot of games skip over, even if it's just a fight. After you beat Cell, the story mode is over and you unlock Pendulum mode. What could the Pendulum mode be? It lets you replay any level with any character. That's it. You can play as the other Z fighters like you would expect, but you can also play as Bardock, Future Gohan, and the coolest character of all, One-Arm Future Gohan. Although they all play the same and have the same attack animations. It's so janky seeing One-Arm Gohan hit enemies with his missing arm. The funniest one to play is Broly because of how huge he is compared to everyone else. After playing this game, all I have to say is, don't play this game. The concept of Dragon Ball Z beat 'em up makes sense, and they had success with the legacy of Goku in this genre. Sadly, execution was terrible with repetitive and boring combat that has no challenge to them. Enemies and bosses take the same strategy to beat, with blocking being your best move. Outside of fights, you have a very linear, backtracking, bush exploding simulator. With the cherry on top being the story just takes clips from the show and doing a collage with them. Even after you beat the game, you get another mode which is just replaying any level with different costumes with how all the characters are the same. I think a good question now is, what's the worst US Dragon Ball Z creation? This, or Dragon Ball Evolutions? While Saga was a disaster, what about a Dragon Ball Z game that plays like Tekken? Was that any better? Let's find out. Super Dragon Ball Z is an arcade game that was ported over to the PS2 and released after Tenkaichi 3. There's no story to this game, as it's meant as a game where you input quarters and fight. Since it's an arcade game, it has an arcade mode that the game calls Original, probably since this is how the original arcade game played. Here you fight through different enemies, with the last one being Cell. Gameplay wise, it's a 3D fighter with Dragon Ball Z characters. It has a light and heavy attack with blocking, dashing, and special attacks. Combos can be done by combining light, heavy, and special moves like any other fighting game. You fight in these 3D open stages where you can move around freely. Some stages have obstacles and destructible environments, which could make a difference in a fight. While you can walk around freely in the arena, you can also dash, but it will take you one of the action bars at the bottom that automatically regenerates after a bit. There is a green bar below the health that is separated into 3 sections, which allow you to use one ultimate attack per bar. Characters also have a few special moves, and they usually require the more simple fighting game inputs of quarter forward and the Z uppercut. I will still just mash the bottom right corner and hope the move I wanted comes out, and that explains my level of experience with fighting games. While there are not a lot of special attacks, characters are very different from each other and have unique attributes or fighting styles to them. Since there's not a lot of attacks in this game, it's easy to experiment to find small combos as you're playing. The easiest combos are usually done by pressing light or heavy 3 times and ending with a special move, or starting with a light and pressing heavy buttons after. How many lights or heavy attacks each character requires is different since they're all unique in their fighting style. I'm sure there are more complicated combos in this game, but I won't be going that in depth. With how easy the controls are, I was able to beat most of the computers. However, the enemies do get tougher, and not just skills, but in stats as well. This is one of those games where the enemy stats get inflated to make them tougher, and you can see it with these icons. Once you get to Frieza, their power up is very apparent, and you'll be in for a hard fight as he performed his signature move, the Naruto run. There are skills, and you could get them yourself. In the customization menu, you make a license for any character and customize them. There are only 2 things you can customize: the color of the outfit and skills. Every character gets a skill tree where you go down and get or choose the skill you want on your character. To unlock skills in the skill tree, you need to get experience in fights in the original or Z survivor mode. Z survival mode is a survival mode where you have 1 round fights while your health does not recover between fights. At the end of each fight, you roll a wheel where you get a chance to get a bonus like some health or extra XP. But one interesting thing you can get is the Dragon Balls. Each customized character can get 7 Dragon Balls, and when you collect them all, you can go and summon Shenron. It will give you a list of things you can unlock, and you can only get one thing, like a single color outfit change. Still better than panties. This is where the replay value of the game will come from unlocking things in the game, from playing the game with different characters to level them up, getting skills, and unlocking things for the characters and other playable characters. This game does introduce some interesting characters you probably don't see in many Dragon Ball Z games, like King Piccolo, Gohan with the Z sword, and Chi-Chi, which is what most people probably know this game for. In total, there are 18 characters, and that is nothing compared to Tenkaichi's 398 characters. But again, all the characters in the games are very unique and balanced between them. The other modes in the games are the usual ones, which are versus and practice, which let you use the customized characters. And if you're the type of person who will use an overpowered customized character against your friends who didn't have one, then you suck. This game is fun and makes you wonder why this game is completely overshadowed by Budokai and Tenkaichi games. It has a good balanced fighting system that is not too complicated for casual fans and has unique characters. However, that is all the game offers compared to Budokai and Tenkaichi. A person who enjoys fighting games will probably prefer a more in-depth and complex fighting game like Tekken, while a casual Dragon Ball Z fan just wants to see all the characters, replay their beloved stories, and all the fan service those other games provide. Only someone who was both a fighting game fan and a Dragon Ball Z fan would have been interested in this game. How about we now talk about a game who decided if it's not broken, just tweak it a little, with Dragon Ball Z Infinite World. This game covers the story of Dragon Ball Z from the Saiyan Saga to the end of GT. The game seems to be this fusion of the 3 Budokai games in my mind, with the cutscenes of Budokai 1, an overworld that reminds me of Budokai 2, and the gameplay of Budokai 3. It does have its unique story mode elements with minigames. They're a bit janky with how they play, and this is where you will collect the Dragon Balls, which works similar to the previous games. While the minigames are not the best, they were a nice change of pace from all the fighting in the game. As you can see, the gameplay is very indistinguishable from Budokai 3, but there are differences that you won't notice if you don't play this game. To give a quick overview of this game, if you don't know about the Budokai series somehow and are watching this video, it's a 2.5D fighting game with a punch, kick, guard, and ki blast with special moves that are done by pressing the key button left or right at the same time. There's more to this game, but I mostly want to talk about the changes this game has compared to Budokai 3. One of the biggest differences I noticed is that this game does not have Dragon Rush, the weird rock paper scissors game that Budokai 3 had that destroyed the pacing of the fights and added a luck minigame into them as well. While it was good, they still kept the aura mode. This mode makes it so you can tank lighter hits, so your opponent's best method is to hit and run, and they made it better. Not only do you not get exhausted after your ki burns out, but you have infinite ki while in this mode. It's an incredibly frustrating mode to fight against, and you're gonna get frustrated in this game. One thing I was not expecting was getting my ass whooped. This game is difficult, and it's because of the CPU. They will not only combo you with combos the game never explains how they're done, but they also have this new perfect block. This new block makes you immune to attacks, but it drains ki while being used. This will be fine with another human opponent since they have realistic reaction times, but these CPUs abuse it like there's no tomorrow. I'm not sure why these computers are doing these combos in normal difficulty. If you want to have a chance, you need to use capsules, and it's weird how they feel like an afterthought in this game. In the previous game, while in the story mode, you receive some capsules to give you plot relevant moves, or when you find them as extra advantage. However, they don't do that here. You have to go out of story mode and then to the shop to be able to get any new capsules. You're going to need them because the enemy's health could have 7 health bars and you only still have 3, unless you buy capsules. Even the capsules themselves got some changes. They now have a clear divide on the multiple types of capsules you can equip, and you can't stack them. And the game before, if you wanted a strong special move, you would equip 2 of the same one, but in this game, the capsules themselves can be upgraded and will do more damage. The best change for this was the transformations. We used to take up a lot of slots for some of the characters, but you can just give them 1 upgraded transformation capsules and they have all the transformations. Transformations also got to change with how they are done. Before I used to hit R1 and R2 at the same time to transform, but in this game, you just press the key button and down. It's treated as a special move, which I do prefer, and the ultimate attack now being up and the key button that can be done outside of aura mode. The one that makes sense but took a while to get used to was charging ki. If you want to charge your ki, you just press the L1 button compared to holding guard and double tapping back. R1 on the other hand now does rush attacks. An interesting move, but one I could hardly use well because of the computer's difficulty. You can again use your customized characters in versus mode, but for some reason, tournament mode is not in this game. A very odd omission since it's been in every Budokai game before. Once you get to the versus mode, you will notice that there is a roster change in the game. The main characters are still available, and mostly minor characters will change. Instead, we have another mode where you can use your customized characters in Fighter's Road. This mode can only be unlocked after beating the story mode and buying it. It's a bunch of fights you can do on the same map as the story mode. If you're having a hard time in this mode, you can go to the training room where you will most likely be practicing your guard cancels, which is the move that computers did that completely whooped my ass. Sadly, it's a very awkward technique to use and will take a good amount of practice to do well. In all, this game feels like a reimagined Budokai 3. It has some changes with some good and others bad, but it doesn't change much of the Budokai 3 formula. I do think that the gameplay in this game is better than Budokai 3, but I can't recommend this game over it. Infinite World is not a very beginner friendly game, specifically because of its difficulty. Budokai 3 on top of that also has a lot more fan service than Infinite World. I might not be a fan of Dragon Rush, but it looks cool, and that is what a casual fan who wants to play Dragon Ball Z wants. The game did not do well in reviews since critics say it was too similar to Budokai 3, but even then, why is this game not remembered by many people? Well, The main culprit will be its release date. The game came out in 2008, 2 years after the PS3 came out, at the same time as Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit on the PS3. It didn't have much of a chance. It was interesting and fun to play these games, except Sagas. They had some unique ideas on some of them that I liked, but after playing them, I can see why Budokai and Tenkaichi kept the spotlight from them. Which of these games do you think deserves more love? Let me know in the comments, and if you love these looks into these classic games, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next one. But as always, my lovely patients, I thank you so much for watching, and tune in next time. Bye.